There has never been more options for budget smartphones than right now. And one new option is from a company called Pozzi. This is the Neo 1 and it has a price tag of $129.99. And right now, it's even on sale for $110. To put that into perspective, this phone is about 1/6 the price tag of the iPhone 15 and close to 1/4 the price tag of the Pixel 7a. And if you think about it, with smartphones getting more and more expensive, $110 for a brand new smartphone is kind of insane. But how good is a $110 smartphone, and who is this phone really for? Inside the box, you get a lot, which is really surprising because these expensive smartphones that we're seeing today, these flagships, don't include much inside the box anymore, but these budget phones pack in everything you can think of. Right up top, you have the phone itself, and we'll take a look at that in a second. Underneath that, you have some paperwork from Pozzi. They also include a clear case for the Neo 1, which is really nice to see. You also get a 10-watt charging brick included inside the box, something that flagships don't do today. And you also have some Pozzi branded wired earbuds, which means that this phone is going to have a headphone jack, another thing that you don't see in more expensive smartphones today. And of course, a USB-A to USB-C charging cable and a SIM ejector tool. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the Pozzi Neo 1 is that this phone is only compatible with T-Mobile in North America and also virtual carriers by T-Mobile. So something to keep in mind, it is unlocked technically, but depending on your area, this will only work with certain networks, and Pozzi puts the complete list of networks for each country on their website. So check it out if you want to make sure that this phone is going to be compatible with the network where you live. Now let's look at the design. This is surprisingly a really nice looking phone. For the price tag, it's of course made of plastic, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Plastic makes the phone a little bit more durable and easier to repair if you need to. This is the black color, and you can see that it has some sort of matte finish on the back. It's not a glossy plastic, but more of a matte black on the back. But this phone is a fingerprint magnet, and I think it's because of the color. You can easily see fingerprints on the back, so keep that in mind. You're gonna have to keep wiping this phone as you use it because of that back finish, that black matte finish on the back. On the right, you have a volume rocker and a power button with an embedded fingerprint sensor. On the bottom, you have one bottom firing speaker and the USB-C port. On the left, you have a SIM card slot and an SD card slot, and you're able to expand the storage to 256 gigabytes, and it has 64 gigabytes of internal storage. It's really nice that Pozzi was able to add that expandable storage to this phone. On the top, you have a headphone jack, which is always nice to see, and this phone just feels lightweight and easy to use. Of course, it doesn't have that heft that those flagship, more expensive phones have, but it's a solid feeling phone, and I'm pretty happy with the design overall when it comes to this kind of budget feeling smartphone. Now, when it comes to the display, the bezels aren't the smallest. You could definitely see it has some thick bezels on the top, the left, and the right. And on the bottom, the chin, there's definitely a large bezel down there. But for the price tag, that's sort of the thing that you can expect. There's also a teardrop cutout on the top for the selfie camera. And all in all, I would say for the price tag, this looks like a pretty modern looking smartphone. It doesn't have the nice thin bezels all around the phone, but once again, you're kind of getting what you pay for when it comes to the design. And I would say Pozzi did a good job giving you the best looking phone possible for that price tag. Now, the display might be one of my favorite parts of this phone. This is a 6.5-inch HD LCD display, and it's a pretty good looking display, especially when you consider how much you're actually paying for it. Not the sharpest display out there, but the colors are nice. It's a bright display, and Pozzi says it has a proprietary brightness boosting system, and it's a decent device to watch content on. Now, the one issue I have with watching content on this phone is the single bottom firing speaker. This speaker is not very good. It's muffled, it doesn't sound clear, and it doesn't get very loud. It's just not a very good speaker. Listen for yourself and let me know what you think with a comment down below.
Male has to prove his worth, so he works tirelessly, removing debris and generally keeping on top of the housework.
Now, once again, for the price, you know that there's going to be drawbacks. You know that there's going to be areas where Pozzi kind of has to make that budget price kind of be shown. Now, performance-wise, this is a budget phone. There's no doubt about that. But I would say it's a usable day-to-day phone. This has an octa-core processor with 4 gigabytes of RAM, and navigating the UI and opening up applications is actually not too bad. Sometimes with budget phones, the processor is so bad that it just makes the whole phone almost unusable. It's kind of not even worth it because that processor is so bad. That's not the case with the Pozzi Neo 1. The phone isn't the fastest, but it definitely is able to keep up and do most tasks you would want to do with a smartphone, and it's not going to frustrate you with the performance. I think the chipset is good enough to get most things done on a daily basis. Now, when it comes to battery life, that's where this phone really shines. This has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and this phone can easily get you through the second day without charging if you wanted to. It's not going to have super fast charging built in or wireless charging, but that's not really an issue with this phone because battery life is so good and you're not going to really have to charge it all that much. I really appreciate that Pozzi was at least able to include a large battery inside, and the display, because it's not the sharpest or highest resolution display, along with the pretty decent performing chipset inside, it's going to have just excellent performance when it comes to battery life. Now, when it comes to the performance of the face unlock and the fingerprint sensor, once again, they can be on the slower end. It's nice that this phone has both of those options available for you, but I would say the face unlock is a little slower than the fingerprint sensor, and both of these aren't as reliable as you would like to have. Sometimes they work really quickly, and other times it just takes a little while for it to actually work. But that's where this can kind of frustrate you, because when it does work, it works great. When it doesn't, you're kind of frustrated. But I would definitely stick with the fingerprint sensor. I found that to be just a little bit more reliable and quicker than the face unlock. But now let's talk about the camera, because this phone has a triple camera setup here. A 16 megapixel main camera, a 5 megapixel depth camera, and a 2 megapixel macro camera sensor. You also have an 8 megapixel selfie camera. Now, the main camera on the back is definitely the camera that you're gonna be using most of the time. And the reason for that is because the other camera sensors just weren't that good, at least just in my experience with it so far. Even the main camera sensor has some drawbacks as well. When it comes to photos, colors can be a little lacking, and they just tend to be a little washed out and not as sharp as you would like. And really, this is in great lighting conditions. In darker situations, this camera system can really struggle at times. Video is decent. It's gonna be able to capture good enough video, but nothing that's gonna wow you or make you think I need to use this camera to take my video. Portrait shots, on the other hand, are really unusable in my opinion. I would try to take a portrait shot and it just looked really fake. This phone would try to digitally add that bokeh effect. It doesn't look very natural at all. So I definitely would not recommend using the portrait mode. The regular camera system and the video, even the pro mode, allows you to kind of fine tune all those camera settings and get the best shot possible. Those are the three modes I would use in this camera system. And the focus can be off at times, and you'll end up taking a photo and realize that it's out of focus, or some parts of the photo are out of focus for some reason. Now, it's possible to get some decent shots though. You'll have to work a little harder than you're probably used to with this camera system, but there's plenty of shooting modes available to try to fine tune and get the best shot possible. But I would definitely focus really on 3 camera modes, because the other ones are really not worth it in my opinion. But looking at the price point for this phone, that's what I kind of expected. It's not worse than the price would suggest, but it wasn't surprisingly better when it came to the camera system. So in the end, who is the 130, right now on sale 110, Pozzi Neo 1 smartphone for? Well, I think this makes a great starter phone for someone. If you have a child that you're looking to get them their first phone, this is a great option for you because it doesn't cost too much. It's a little over $100, so if they were to break it or lose it, it's not a huge deal. And it does really everything you would want a smartphone to do. It has all the applications available on it. It's going to run Android just fine. You're going to be able to play basic games, open up applications, take basic photos with this phone. So this is a great starter phone for any young person. And it's also a good backup phone. If you're going on a trip, for example, or you're doing something that you don't want to take your expensive smartphone on and you just want to carry a phone with you, but you don't want to carry something too expensive and risk something happening to it, this is definitely a great backup phone for that. It gets the basic smartphone tasks down, performance is okay, battery life is great, so you're not going to have to worry about charging it. The display is large and bright, and the camera, while it's not over the top impressive, it'll get the basic shots down. The point is, because of the price tag and the strengths that this phone has, the Neo 1 definitely has a place for certain people, and I would say it's worth looking at for those certain situations. If you want to check out the Neo 1 for yourself, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. But what do you think of the Pozzi Neo 1? Let me know with a comment down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos just like this one on tech news, reviews, and opinions, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our new videos, and I'll see you on the next one.